From this day forward, you'll never need to use the eraser tool again. The eraser tool is destructive and will permanently discard pixels. What you want to learn to use is layer masking. This non-destructive technique allows you to mask or hide the undesirable pixels. However, the key here is that in the future you can easily modify this mask because it is a non-destructive technique. Let's see how layer masking can be harnessed to create great transparency. Let's explore the essential technique of layer masking. Now, we have this image open, and I want to go ahead and mask it. Currently, if we look at the layer in the Layers palette, it cannot be turned off or on. That's because it's locked as a background layer, indicating it's the bottom of the image. If I double-click on this layer, I can go ahead and rename it, in this case, Chain, and notice that it is now a layer that can be floated, that is, turned off and on with a transparency grid. So that works very well. Next, we need to create an initial rough selection. So I'm going to come over and grab the polygonal lasso tool, which works much like an X-Acto knife. Let's zoom in here a little bit. And I can go ahead and click and start to drag. Every time I click, it adds an anchor point, which we can then turn around. There we go. And I am just making a rough selection of the image. There we go. Good. Let's move this over a little bit. Hold down the space bar. Good. Click. Click. Good. Just about there. Keep going around the edges. Space bar to pan. There we go. We're back to the beginning, and I can close the loop. There. We have an initial rough selection. Zoom out just a little bit. We can now go to the Layers palette and click the icon at the bottom of the Layers palette that said Add Layer Mask. Clicking that, and you see a mask is applied. What's black is transparent, what's white is opaque. Therefore, we can come over and press D for default colors to load black and white, and grab a paintbrush. Painting with white will paint details back in. Painting with black will remove them. As you see, a non-destructive editing process. Let's zoom in a little bit here and refine our edge. There we go. I can do this a couple of ways. One of my favorites is to just take the blur tool and go over the edge. And you see that that creates a nice, soft feathering of the edge, making it a little more believable, in my opinion. Now, running the blur tool, if I click on the image thumbnail, and if I blur, it actually blurs the image. Let's undo, Command or Control Z. Clicking on the mask thumbnail does not blur the image, but rather only blurs the mask, which makes it easier to go ahead and clean edges up. There we go. Move around. This is where the navigator can also come in handy. Let's go ahead and move through that image a little bit. Good. And you see how we can quickly fix the edges of our image using a tool like the blur tool here to soften. Now, if I want to touch up the areas a little bit more, I might switch to the Smudge Tool. And the Smudge Tool can be useful because it has two modes. Lighten mode is going to let you push the white areas of the mask further out. Let's zoom in here. So if I'm in lighten mode, notice how it pushes the edge of the mask, making it more expanded and pushing the pixels out. If I switch back to darken mode, only the pixels will get pushed in. And this can be useful as well for basically finger painting your edges to touch them up. There we go. So you can use those two tools in combination, both blur and smudge. There we go. Let's just finish this out. And lastly, when we get to the end here, we'll have to take care of that problem area in the middle that we did not go ahead and mask yet. And that's just going to be a quick paint job. Good, that's all set. Let's pull this out. And we just need to take care of this central area. Grab our paintbrush, make sure we've got black, and we'll just zoom in here. With our paintbrush, B for brush, we can use a smaller brush here to clean this up. Let's go ahead and hit the left bracket key, shrinks the brush, and we can paint. There we go. And I'm just going to go ahead and paint that out. If I click once and hold down the Shift key, come down here, you'll notice that it draws a straight line and connects the dots. You can do the same. There we go. Shift click. And come back here, Shift click. And that quickly picked that up. We can now just paint this other area out, making sure we get it all. Let's go to a bigger brush, right bracket. And I'm just going to paint that out. Just about there. Now, it's not a bad idea to toss a solid color back there. Clicking on the adjustment layer icon there, solid color. If we put that in back, it makes it easier to see our edges. If you look closely, you may notice a slight ghosting there where we missed that top edge. Make sure we're on the right mask. There we go. So we need to carefully go over that and make sure we don't have any stray pixels. Let's make the brush a little smaller and get this last bit here. Good. It looks like I'm all set on the right edge. Got a little space here. Left bracket for a smaller brush. Good. Even smaller. And just paint that away. There we go. Get that little corner. And at that point, the image has been successfully layer masked. We can turn this red off. And this image is ready to be composited over another Photoshop layer or worked into a design. If you want to take it into a nonlinear editing system or a motion graphics application, you might want to add an alpha channel. You can simply Command or Control click on the thumbnail here to load it. Switch to channels and then say Save Selection as Channel, this bottom icon down here on the right. There's the alpha channel. And you can go ahead and import this. Now, on some editing systems, they have a problem called pre-multiplied alpha channels. Photoshop's going to go ahead and replace this transparency grid with white pixels. So if you have an issue where you get a slight glow around the image, simply leave the alpha channel turned on, come over to the Layers palette, hold down the Shift key, and click on the layer mask. Now, that disabled the layer mask, putting the image details back out there. But the alpha channel will cut the transparency, and in the soft edges, it will fade to the original details in the photo, creating a very believable feathered edge without any halo or glow. Now, that's only a problem mainly on nonlinear editing systems, but even some motion graphics tools. And that is if it cannot take care of the pre-multiplied alpha, which we'll talk a little bit more in a second. There you have it. We've created a great alpha channel. We've extracted this image, and it is ready for further compositing.